how did you get into design? How did you get into web design? What drove you there? What were you doing before? Okay.
I was looking for work. I was actually thinking about getting back into the mines. I just wanted to do the kind of work that I wanted to do, work with the people that I wanted to work with. Because yeah, like I said, there's only so many roofing or plumbing websites that I could get excited about and be like, oh, tell me about your brand. Like, what are you guys about? Like,
dude, I was part of the branding of the state of Israel. If you come visit us in Israel, you will land in the airport and you will see a weird shaped logo, and I worked on that. What is up, Kaleb, the rising star of the Webflow agency world? Dude, the video that you made for us was epic. Everybody should definitely see it. I'm super excited about having you on the channel, about our collaboration for the new Webflow Masterclass. Thanks for being here and
me
part
too.
of this.
Me too, man. I'm so pumped. And like I said, when we first got in touch, like this all started from starting with your videos 4 years ago, or whatever. So it's this weird, it's a bit of a surreal kind of circle, you know?
It's very funny. I didn't know that you took our course. I randomly saw you tweeting about your Webflow checklist, and I was very impressed. And I watched the Loom video that you recorded, and I was like, this guy is not only a pro, he's good vibe. And that's what I like. And so that actually triggered, us working together.
It's all about those vibes, dude. For me, I'm these days, and maybe we'll talk about it now, but like one thing I'm focused on now, I've just done almost 200 projects at this point. And after this many projects, now I just want good energy. I just want good feelings, good experiences, because like I can't do another 200 website builds without it feeling good. You know what I mean?
Definitely. I think we'll get to it when we're going to talk about what does success mean for us, and I would love to hear your take on this and kind of like what we're optimizing for. But I'd love to get started. First of all, did I notice now that you have a tattoo in Hebrew on your hand? Did I see that correctly?
Yeah,
dude, that's very random. Why in Hebrew? It's kind of like religious, biblical thing.
I was brought up super religious, and
really interesting.
So it was my first tattoo, which was God is peace, right? I've got
it. Nice.
Yeah. See, Yahovah Shalom.
Very interesting. Let's get started with you telling me how you got into the Webflow space in general. I mean, I know you took our course, but how did you get into design? How did you get into web design? What drove you there? What were you doing before?
Long story short, I was actually in a pretty hard place 5 years ago, and I was looking for work. I was actually thinking about getting back into the mines. I worked in the mines for a couple of years. I'm like, man, I need to get some cash together.
As a miner?
Yeah. I was working on drilling.
Oh my God. What were you mining?
We were mainly looking for gold.
Okay.
For mining, we were working on big drilling rigs where we would drill into the earth and pits. And
that's crazy. How old are you, by the way?
33.
33. Okay.
Yeah. Long story short, I was putting out applications, looking for all sorts of jobs to get into. I'd built a few websites. I'd been in online marketing, bit of ClickFunnels, online sales, and then a friend of mine has an SEO company, and he said, "Oh, we need a hand with one of these websites. We'll pay." I think.
What were you building websites before? Like, it's very random. Well, I work in mines, and then on the weekend I do websites. Like, it sounds random. Like, in what context were you doing funnels and then ClickFunnels? How did you get to that? Because it's a big jump.
I worked in the mines when I was like early 20s. For a couple of years. So that was like 7, 8 years beforehand. And so I'd done that. I'd known, I can do it. It's good money. And then, so yeah, I was kind of doing full circle, but I was doing like online consulting and coaching. I'm a big fan of love and relationship philosophy. And that was kind of the space that I was focused in.
What does that mean? Do you mean like websites or companies that relate with love and relationship as clients or something?
So I started off in basically the relationship coaching space, and I was doing my own thing, but then I got involved with another business, helping them grow their, because I was similar to how we connected. Like, they saw some of my content online. Hey, I want to connect. But that didn't really go the way I expected, which led to a pretty unpleasant situation 5 years ago, put it that way. So it was like okay, I've got to do something completely new now, and I want to do something that's just completely different to what I've done before. And then my friend who has a SEO company, is like, we need a hand with websites. And I was like, work in the mines, try building websites. So I think the first one, dude, was like $300. And I was like, whoa, $300 for a website. It's like, if I just did one of these a day, that's.
Just randomly interrupting you again, because I was recently reading a book about miners. And when I was reading about it, I was like, every day that I think that I have a hard day as a web designer, I should remember I am not in the mines right now. So it's just a reference, right?
1,000%. I mean, back in the mines, the drop-off rate was like 60 to 80% would quit in the first month or two. It was just,
That's crazy.
I don't know if you use Celsius or Fahrenheit, but there was some days, Celsius?
Yeah.
There were days that were over 50 degrees in the middle of the desert.
Oh, crazy.
50 degrees, dude. You could eat the air. It was that hot. And like, it was just, so I'm very grateful to have such a comfortable job now. Web
design sounds good. $300. I'll take it.
Totally. Mate offered me hey, do you want to do this website? I dabbled, over the few years that I was kind of doing the relationship programs and courses. And then, I remember the site too. It doesn't exist now, but people can look up the company. It was called Lawn Lives Matter. And it was like a landscaping business. And oh my God, I hope this guy never sees this video. But I mean, back then I was so proud. It was like one of the best. It was still looked really good. I mean, compared to what we do now though, like then I was like, this is amazing. This is sick. Like then I was kind of hooked. I was like, hey, let's, what can we do here? So yeah, that's kind of how it started. And that was with WordPress. We're mainly using like Divi and theme builders. That's where we started.
So you got into web design that way, and then at some point discovered Webflow, and at what point did you go on your own? Did you continue to work with him?
Yeah, so for 2 years I was working with Periscope, SEO company, Legends. They do incredible work. My best mate runs the company. So over those 2 years, I built out the website department, built a team. We started having systems and processes, but that 2 years there was some real growing pains, huge learning curve. The first year was mainly WordPress, and I did about 50 sites in that first year. And at one point we had like 16 websites on at one time, and I was just like frazzled.
So you saw how, or you learned how to manage a business or run multiple projects and stuff like that before you were doing it on your own. You kind of saw it from the inside. So you're not completely fresh when you started your own.
Exactly. So I got to see a lot of the inner workings of being a part of an agency, being a part of a team, which, was just, looking back, is so big. It's such a beneficial thing. And also I think I talk about this in the video we've done, is that like having peers or people that you're kind of building alongside and people to look up to that you are close with is just, I have no idea what I'd be doing now if I didn't have those kind of normal standards around me,
Yeah, for sure. I also did agency work before going on my own. It was very, very helpful. Mainly, I think, operations as well, but for me, it was a lot of psychology. I mean, learning to empathize with your clients and the fact that they have other problems besides your website. I know other friends of mine who straight up just started their own kind of like agency, and their mindset was like, clients are stupid. They're like this and that. And that's actually one of my key takeaways from me working in an agency, just like understanding how to relate to clients and deliver good service. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. That's, I feel like, I think anyone honestly that's kind of running their own business has to be a little bit crazy in some way, or there's some kind of like healthy delusion that's involved with starting your own thing, in my opinion. Not like jumping straight in without any kind of, like, let's imagine you're a lawyer and you work for a law firm and then you start your own law firm. Like that makes sense. But if you fresh out of like studying law and you're like, I'm going to start my own law firm, like that for me is like, whoa.
Yeah.
man, like,
Yeah. I think it's very common. I see our students just because, to learn web design, you take an online course and then you're like, okay, I'm ready to do client work. And a lot of them just jump right into it. And I agree with your advice. If you can work next to somebody and learn from somebody first and then transition, that's a good process. When did you decide you want to do your own thing?
well, and to add to that point, I had this thought the other day from our conversations, and I spoke to someone else. We've had about 40 or 50 people contact us recently to join the team. And one of the things I was kind of thinking of is like, if, again, I'm talking to myself here, like I can't give other people advice, but talking to myself in the past is like, well, Kaleb, if you can't help an existing semi-healthy business become more profitable and grow, then I'm not sure how I would expect to do it myself, if that makes sense.
I understand what you're saying, but I know like a lot of places I worked, the founders or managers had an idea about, for example, the agency that I worked with, I learned tons, and the boss there, the person who was my boss is still a good friend of mine. And he's like, I consider him my mentor. That being said, his idea of running a company meant that the team was staying in the office until 1 a.m., like 3-4 times a week. And for him, that was okay because he enjoyed it. He didn't care. For him, that was great. For me, I was like, dude, that's unsustainable for me. I want to have a family. I don't want to live like this. So, and I've had multiple conversations with him, but I can't change him, right? He's like, no, trust me. I'm doing this for 10 years. This is what is required to succeed. This is how we're going to work. And you can't argue with him. He's successful, but it's just like, that's not for me. I want to do it my way.
Yeah, no, makes sense. That's the other side of the coin, right? Because I've been having chats with my team recently, and I'm like, the way that I'm trying to build things with our team is that the more value that is created with the team, that they can really see like a one-to-one feedback loop, like of their value. Like if they create more value in the business, then they can earn more in the business. So they've got a lot more control over what they can create and how that impacts. I've noticed by setting things up like that, my team is becoming more invested in contributing to what we're doing, and we all win. But you're totally right.
That's amazing. No, that's amazing.
I think you have to be in the right business to be able to do that. Yeah.
So when did you decide you want to do your own thing? What was the trigger for? Yeah.
So after 2 years, the main thing was, man, like there's only so many like roofing websites that I could do. And actually similar to what you're describing, there were certain things or directions or things that I would want to do, but you don't have that total control over what you want to do. You have to work within the existing framework. So I just wanted to do the kind of work that I wanted to do, work with the people that I wanted to work with. Because like I said, there's only so many roofing or plumbing websites that I could get excited about and be like, oh, tell me about your brand. Like, what are you guys about? Like, why do you do what you do? Like, we're plumbers. Okay. And like, what's the vision for this company? You know what I mean?
A world where all toilets flush.
Yeah, totally. Clean toilets worldwide. Wow. Yeah. So the vision for Flowgear at the start was basically, and with full blessing from the team, they'd seen that I kind of, I guess, outgrown as well, wanting to do my own thing. And we still partner on stuff now. But that was the point where I decided to launch.
And you discovered Webflow while you were working with them, or afterwards?
Yes, and as soon as I discovered Webflow, I was like, I said to the guys, we are not building another WordPress site. And there was like no buts. It was just, I refused. We didn't touch another WordPress site.
Did they agree?
Yeah, there was no choice.
That's amazing. and clients didn't have a problem.
No, we never. Yeah. I can't even remember a time where there was an issue, and it's completely changed their business as well. Now they're 100% Webflow. Yeah,
that's interesting. What's the Webflow scene in Australia like? Is it big? Are there meetups?
We're definitely, I would say, behind if I see what is happening in the EU and US. Although we've got guys like Reloom here, and I think flow based.
Oh, they're Australians? I didn't know.
Man. Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
Dude, I love what they're doing. I'm also partnering with them, for the course. They're going to give us kind of like free Reloom for students, and it's
dude,
what they're doing now with the AIs. Yeah, with Dan. With Dan.
Oh, Dan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. I'm
they're
planning
doing
to catch
great
up
work.
with them in a few weeks.
Okay, so there is stuff going on.
Yeah. I mean, small pockets, but it's if I talk about like like sales calls and just the general consensus. When I speak to people in the US, on average, I feel like there's just more awareness about cool new things. I feel like Australia is just a little bit behind on most things.
Yeah, but there's big potential. Then you can position yourself.
Well, that was the goal 3 years ago. I was looking online. I was like, there was no one here, and I was like, we'll be like the gurus in Australia for Webflow. And then, funnily enough, like it was probably months after that I started to see that the trend of things being flow this and flow that, and everything was flow.
Fantastic. So, obviously I've seen your video and I know how big you are on business processes. And I recently saw a funny meme on Twitter. I don't know if you know these memes where there is kind of like the stupid or very stupid junior person on the left side and a guru on the left, on the right side. And then there's like the middle of the road, and like the stupid junior and the gurus always think the same. They're like the simple thing, but the person in the middle always overcomplicates things. Do you know these memes? Never mind. So in that particular meme, it was kind of like stupid and guru both say CEO works hardest in the business, and the person in the middle is like, no, the CEO needs to come up with business processes and strategic alignments and blah, 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 overcomplicates everything. Again, not dissing on, and I think I was in that part as well. Kind of like I had this thing like a couple of years ago where I would say like, no, I shouldn't be doing the work. I need to think about the strategy and blah, blah, blah. I see you're working very hard. I know from our collaboration, you're doing so many things, but you're also very hard into business processes. Like, how do you see?
Big time. And on that last point, it's humbling to hear things like that. And I still have to remind myself, because I look back at things that I was very certain about a year ago, certain about 2 years ago, certain about 6 months ago. And now I've maybe learned something new and I'm like, oh, that was a bad idea, or maybe there was a better way to do it. So I'm constantly being humbled and trying to kind of peel back those kind of layers of ego, and it has to be done this way. And but yeah, interesting. So your question was?
It's not really a question, more like kind of like, do you think business processes is more important than working hard? Do you think when does working hard becomes too hard? Like, are you saying yes to too many things? Is that become a problem? I don't know.
It's a good question, man. And I don't even know if I'm the best person to answer it, because I'm in one of the worst states of health that I've been in like a long time.
Because you're overworked.
Overworked, yeah. Like terribly overworked. It's been like consistently 60 to 80 hour weeks for months. Okay, but here's what's changed though, and this is why I've been heavy on the systems side of things. So it was about a year ago that I was building about 10 websites, mainly probably 90% by myself. 10 websites on the go at the same time, and some of these were big projects. And I just had my bed next to the in my office here, and I was just like falling asleep, wake up, and it was just insane. But I was committed to getting the jobs done and on time. But I needed, I couldn't sleep unless, because I have to do this, I have to do that. So that's where really becoming hardcore about documenting things, systemizing things, so that when I finish at the end of the day, I know where everything is. I can shut my eyes and pick up the next day knowing exactly where everything is in our system, in our process. The more I started doing that, the more I started freeing up my time, the more I was like, oh, someone else could just follow this. And then it was like, I'm going to get someone else to do this. Oh, wow, that guy did that better than I would do it. And that's kind of what has snowballed over the last year. And so now I'm about 80+% off the tools in terms of Webflow development, maybe 90%. Probably more like 90% off the tools in terms of Webflow.
So if you have a team, you have processes, you're off the actually doing the projects yourself. So why are you working so hard? And you're making a bunch of money. So it's like...
Well, it's, once you look at like business expenses, tax, oh my God, I don't know about other countries, but tax in Australia is just brutal. It's enough now to pay myself and 3 other full-time employees, wages, which is amazing to think about. It's at the point now where we're kind of breaking through to this point where it's like I see it like a threshold where, cool, this is working, but we want it to be exponentially good. Do I just want, I don't want to just create a job. Like I don't want to just
In what sense? But wait, but what is your job? So because you've created the processes, you have team members working. So what is taking up most of your time?
Now what's taking up most of my time is 2 main things. One is the project management. So just ensuring that, clients are happy. We have 15 design agencies that we're currently partnered with. And so that's a lot of just
relationship management. Yeah.
And then the main thing that I've been working on recently is our lead generation machine. So making sure that we have new work coming in, new business coming in.
Which you're doing with cold calling? Or
I have been doing cold calling, which has been brutal. We've set up an email marketing system, and that's probably the main ways. And we've got a bit of a referral network as well that I forgot what I was saying.
Yeah. Okay. So marketing and lead generation. Yeah. Marketing and lead generation. Yeah. Which, by the way, those can be delegated as well.
Correct. But I haven't got the systems for those yet. So I'm building those systems so that they can be delegated. So it's been like juggling 12 things. Now I'm just juggling 6 things. But there's all this stuff that I didn't know was going to exist. When I was like, yeah, let's have a team. Like the team members, like they've got like hearts and health and minds, like they've got feelings.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Management is tough. I mean, people don't talk about it. It's just, so just delegate it. Right. And who's going to take care of that person?
And who's going to make sure they're motivated and happy and like achieving their goals and they feel fulfilled. And so it's creating systems and even just learning, like understanding what even works there, because what I thought might work for me isn't the same. You can't just like,
this is so difficult for me. Yesterday, I was having a conversation with a team member and we were, reviewing priorities and stuff like that. And, she's doing fantastic work, amazing work, but she's a different person than me. She manages her time and priorities differently from me. And when I look at that and it confuses me, my immediate reaction is to kind of like, no, this is not how I would do it. Fix it to make it more comfortable for me. I realized this is happening and I was just like, okay, no, everything is okay. But she thought maybe something is wrong with her work or how she's working, but it's just me who have to deal with other people being different than me, and not everybody. I don't have to force everybody to work or do what works for me. This is so difficult. Like, yeah.
Yeah, not everyone's ran. It's hard to comprehend, I know. Not everyone is perfect like me and does everything exactly right, the only way that it should be done, like my way.
You're saying this because it's a joke, but this is so real to me and so difficult. Like, why you said you're going to do something on time. Why can't you do it on time? Is it so like... Look at me. I always do it on time. Why? So it's just like...
That thing that you're saying, dude... What's really weird, no one that knows me, even you said like you picked up good vibes. Generally, like anyone that knows me would probably, well, I hope they would say Kaleb's like a lovely guy. Like I want everyone to be happy. Like I just want people to be happy and good things for everyone, right? However, business, oh my God, I never knew that I had anger, but I have anger issues, and it's all come out. There's been this personal, business for me has been more of a personal journey than a business journey. It's crazy. Like I get angry at people, and I'm like, what is that?
Yeah. My business coach told me something useful once, which is, he was asking me like, what are your values? And I'm like, I don't know. It always sounds like vague. Innovation, creativity, all these kind of things. He was like, no. What pisses you off? And I was like, oh, when people are late. Okay, so here's your value. You value things being on time or accountability. So it's just an interesting way if you're self-aware to say, oh, I'm really angry right now. Okay, that means that there is something that I value, and that value is not being upheld right now. So it's an interesting perspective to understand. And then you can even go ahead and document those things. Like, okay, so that being said, not everybody's it's going to be you, and you have to deal with it.
Yeah, man. I've been going through that exact process that you're describing. Like, as I'm like training new team members, and I'm saying, oh, I like what I saw Tolu do. He suggested like, hey, why don't we do this? So why did I like that? Okay, he's taking responsibility for the project, and he's trying to do the project better than the client has requested. I'm like, oh, that's a value. I want my team members to be always looking for opportunities to up level our projects. Oh, so I'm documenting that, and it's kind of building this image of, the flow guru, right? Our ultimate team members. It's cool.
Fantastic.
But if someone just asked you, like, what's your values? I have the same thing. I'm like,
I don't know.
On time. Yeah.
Obviously, we're talking about you working so hard. Do you not concern or care about like work-life balance or like something like this, or burning out, or just like health? Like, how do you feel about those?
Look, I really do care about my health, and it's something I really want to get sorted. It just feels like it's more like I've grabbed a tiger by the tail. It's the word momentum comes to mind, where I've put so much effort over the last 5 years, like grinding, and especially the last year, massive amounts of effort, investing in masterminds and mentorships and tens of thousands of dollars. Like, for me, I'm like this close for what I envision to be happening. And so I don't want to slow down at this point, because although I'm having weekends now, which it hasn't happened for 4 or 5 years. So weekends.
Okay, so we're getting somewhere. Yeah.
There's progress is what I'm saying. So yeah, I do really want to get on top of the health and have that balance, man. I'm starting to get a taste of it now. And it's only because of the incredible new team members that are coming on board, because of the business systems that they can follow, that I'm able to like step back a second and be like, oh, that's cool. Tolder's got this. Oh, that's cool. Balls has got it. Like, it's going to be handled, How about you, man?
Amazing.
Do you feel like you've got that balance? Because I know you, I hear you're a machine.
Right now I'm in a crunch. So the way that it works for me is I have crunch cycles, which and they're usually kind of like quarterly or like 90 days sprints, where, I'm thinking about what do I want to do this next quarter or whatever. And we're taking projects, and then I move from planning into execution. And then I just run as fast as I'm a good sprinter, meaning I can run very fast for like 90 days, and then I need to rest. So we'll do all these projects, we'll ship something, we'll launch something. So right now, for example, we're working on the new Webflow Masterclass and a new website. And in the middle, we're launching like Figma course, and there's multiple things happening. But on me personally, because I record the Webflow Masterclass, that's kind of like my main thing. Now it's also kind of like August and September, which is kind of like holidays for kids and like Jewish holidays and blah, blah, blah. So I need to finish this in time, and I just run as fast as I can. So right now, and I'm like, so now it's very tiring, and I have to make adjustments and work harder than usual. But then I know that when I finish it, I take a break. We're going to go to Thailand for like 2 weeks, and then I can chill, and then I can come back, and then I can plan the next sprint, and then I can run again. So for me, it's kind of like sprints. If it was ongoing, which it was at some points, then at some point I just burn out, and I'm like, I don't feel like working at all, and I'm like tired all the time. But when it's sprints and when I can see the end line, it's in sight, I know, okay, it's just 2 more months. I just have to finish this one thing, and then I take a break.
That's an interesting distinction, that you can see the finish line. And I was going to say
again, and then you invented the next finish line, right? Because it's never over. And even if you free up your time, then you create your new fictional goal, and then you start running towards that. It's never done, right? Because we do what we love, so we want to keep on doing it. It's not as if, I don't believe the fantasy of you will delegate everything, right? And you will work 4-hour work week and be at the beach or whatever, right? Look at Tim Ferriss, 4-hour work week. He's working harder than both of us, probably. I mean, it's just like, it never ends. It never ends. If you like what you're doing, and you're driven.
I was going to say, yeah, man, I've been doing sprints too, but my sprint has been for 5 years.
That's tough. I mean, yeah, it's a long sprint.
But speaking of breaks, where are you going in Thailand?
This time we're going to Koh Samui and Koh Phangan.
Oh, beautiful. I never went there. I've always just gone to Phuket.
Yeah, we were in Phuket last week.
Oh, true.
Did I say last week? No, I meant last year.
Were you there in November?
We were there October, I think. Yeah,
October, dude, we would have just crossed paths at the airport.
Oh man, I loved it. I loved Phuket. Really nice area.
Beautiful.
Yeah, but in Koh Phangan, there's like my wife's favorite hotel in the world, so it's like we gotta go there. It's like, and it's always random, but I think the Jewish holidays, which is in the end of September, it's always on our anniversary. So we always have an excuse to, hey, we need to go. We need to celebrate.
Nice, man. Beautiful. Yeah. I love Asia. I've lived in Asia for like 5 years, in South Korea.
Where?
Mainly South Korea.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
Why'd you go there?
My family moved over there, and I was teaching English.
Oh, nice. Did you pick up Korean?
한국말 조금 알아요. So that's a little bit. Actually, and I was in Gangnam most days. So you know the song Gangnam Style?
Yeah. In Seoul.
Actually, and when that song was big, I was busking with my friend who actually speaks. He was brought up in Israel, speaks Hebrew, and he was busking. We're busking around Korea together, and we ended up having dinner with the guy from Gangnam.
With the guy?
Yeah, Sai.
Oh my God.
We're at the same table drinking soju with the guy. It was crazy.
Nice.
I don't know how that happened. That was nuts. Anyway,
nice.
Another story.
Amazing. So you're very focused now on your team, you've mentioned. How did you, like, for me, hiring is very difficult. How did you learn hire, or what have you learned so far? What's your process?
Man, I would love to pick your brain. I mean, because I'm sure you've probably had a lot more experience in the space. I am also finding it difficult, but I think it's more because I'm just becoming more and more specific about what I want. And I've come across 3 people so far that I just love working with. I just, in here, I feel like, I was going to say love, but I feel good, just these beautiful feelings of like, man, I appreciate you so much. I want you to succeed. That's probably the key thing that I have distinguished in the last year, that I want to work with people that I just uncontrollably have a feeling that I just want this person to win. Like, I just like this person. I want you to do your best work. How can I support you, right? And they have that feeling towards me. There's something special in that dynamic that I don't know how to define logically yet, but finding that.
So how do you find that? Do you do interviews? Do you pick that up on conversation?
Yeah, so I do interviews, but they're pretty casual. But the main thing is just, hey, what are you about? Like, what do you? I really like to focus on, what do you love doing? Like, what are you really good at? What do you enjoy doing? And if you could just have your ideal job where you get to do a certain type of work every day and get paid well for it, like, what what would we be doing together? And, if I get excited about what they say, if it's like, oh, I don't know, maybe building, like, I like websites and like I start to go to sleep versus like, oh, like I really love like this and like being able to create things that do that. Like I can see that they've got this vision of like creating things, making things better. And I get excited about what, like, oh, I like the way you think about that. Like I start to think, oh, have you thought about, and then they're like, oh yeah, I have thought about that. So that area of like play and creativity. One guy is a great example. The new team leader who officially, he's not over the line yet, but he's gone through our kind of trial period. Tomorrow is the last day. 99.99% sure. Bulls, if you're watching this now, I'm pretty sure he's over the line. But what was going to say about Bulls? So the thing that I've really enjoyed about my experience with this guy is that when we got on, I started showing him, hey, this is what we're doing at Flow Gurus. This is the systems we're developing. This is the career path that I'm trying to carve out so that it's exciting to work here. Here's the kind of things that I want to be doing. He started asking questions about, so like, you're going to do this. Oh, that sounds like this. Like, and the conversations were the same conversations I have with myself about the business, which is basically, how can I improve this? How can I make this business better? Versus, so how much is the pay? Or, like, what am I going to have to do? Like,
I think this is, by the way, is so underrated, and I've picked that up myself. Like people who ask good questions, that's immediately how you see how they think, and that they care about this, and
I was just going to say, what is that reflective of? And I think maybe it's what you said there is like they care about something.
Yeah, for sure. When I asked somebody on an interview, do you have any questions to me? And they were like, no, I think we're good. I'm like, okay. That's where I suspect.
Ask me that question, man. I've got 1,000 questions for you, dude.
Yeah, you see? That means it's a good feat. Yeah. So you told me you're excited about super components. I want to hear what is that? Because I'm like in the world of components very strongly myself right now. So I want to hear, what are you thinking about?
But seriously though, I've got so many questions I want to ask you, man.
Let's do it.
Super components. So what I've noticed, we use Reloom, and that has just been a game changer for us. What I've noticed is that no matter what we use in terms of some kind of component library or naming conventions, there's compromises in any direction. There's always, if you do it this way, then you've got to compromise on that. And if you do it this way, there's always some kind of like rigidity with any system. That's why it's a system, because it's, locked into a particular framework. One thing because we time and track everything on every website. And one bottleneck that I'm seeing with our projects is navs and forms are two kind of painful things, especially when you get into things that are a little bit more complex and just things that you don't want to miss. Like it's in our checklist, but every now and then things slip through, you duplicate a form and it's, the
same name or, yeah.
So as an example, the next thing I want to do, and I was thinking about even creating like a public competition for it, but as a super nav. So at the end of the day, 99% of navs all have the same divs, as in they might have less of them, but they're all going to have relatively, the most you're ever going to have is some drop downs. But outside of that, you've got either it's going to be a full width menu or that it's going to start from tablet. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, every time we build a site, we've always got some kind of bug with the native Webflow nav.
Even the Reloom components?
It's not so much the Reloom, it's not the components as much as it is just the Webflow native navigation.
Which they are using as well.
Oh, which they're using, yes. Yeah. With Reloom. And something like this probably already exists, by the way. You probably already know of it. But just one nav that I'm like, this is our nav. This is the nav we use on every site. It's not styled. It's got all the basic components, and it has the flexibility for us to do pretty much any nav we need to do.
But what are the problems that you're finding with like the native nav or something? Like what are some of the bugs that you're seeing?
A lot of it comes down to the drop downs and the interactions with the hamburger nav.
Got
I
it.
mean, one that just irks me so bad is that when you hit the hamburger menu, if you click it twice,
it will trigger the interaction twice. Yeah.
It triggers it twice. I'm like, and you build like a beautiful site, and then you've got this one little thing that's like, oh, so just there's a few little things like that, which is just kind of like, we strive for this, premium sites, and we've got these little bugs. Clients pick up on those things. Our partners are design agencies, so they're people that are really paying attention to those details. Yeah, we want to make sure that we have control over everything that it does exactly. Another thing is the drop downs. I don't know if you have this, or it could just be me not knowing what to do, but when it comes to placement of drop downs, being able to have full control over exactly the width of the drop down and where that drop down sits, whether it's like butted up against the nav perfectly, or the Webflow native drop down components have these weird like default like settings that they're not documented anywhere, and I don't know exactly what they are, but you run into them and you're like, it just won't do the normal thing that it does. Like if this was just a div and a div, it's not doing what a div and a div would do. It's doing some other thing.
So you're rebuilding like your own native components or for navigation and forms, or that's the project.
This is a project that I want to kick off with the team once we have a little bit more breathing room. Because it's one of those things that every single project we're having to build the nav, when it's like, there's always a bug.
Got it.
It's always one bug.
Yeah, I'm thinking a lot about components right now because we're rebuilding our website, and we want to set it up in a way that our marketer, who's not a Webflow developer, will be able to build up pages on his own. So we basically want to create like a library of components or elements that he can just copy and paste and customize without knowing Webflow. So that's what we're trying to develop right now.
And so are you going to be using like actual Webflow as in like green components? It's going to be a component, or are you meaning like copy and paste?
Yeah, so some of them can be components, but other ones probably not. Like I'm thinking FAQ, for example. We figured out that doing FAQs that are coming from the CMS are hard to handle. They're very difficult if you want to rearrange or quickly edit. So some things are probably going to be simple elements to copy and paste. We just find that it's easier to manage them, even if they're not like a component. So just like an element, I guess. But we're still figuring it out.
A little hack that I found useful I had to jump back on the tools in the last week because we just had a big influx of projects. And one thing I did on this last project was I turned probably half of the sections that I built into components. And so when I was building out the other pages, I would just kind of search the component and plug it in, unlink it, and then adjust it for the new section. So I found that having like a bit of a like green Webflow component library with all like existing assets worked really well for just dragging stuff in there. And as you know, like when you have a green component, you can't drop it inside other elements. So it's a lot easier to drag and drop, unlink, and then,
Yeah.
Interesting. So what's the plan or the goal with having this? Is this just going to be for your marketing guy, or are you wanting to?
Yeah. But I think it's we're also working on a client project right now, and maybe we'll try that. But I think that it's a very interesting approach for web designers to sell as a service. So if you do a website project, but instead of saying, okay, here's the website, here's the 5 pages that you've asked for, if you can say, on top of those, I'm going to build you a component library. And that means you'll be able to add pages or edit your website and never have to deal with another designer or developer ever in your life to maintain and even upgrade your website. That's kind of like a very cool upsell. And also in terms of like the experience for the client to manage their own website, I think that can be a new approach or a new service to offer to clients.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know use cases where that would have been ideal, you know, for sure. Interesting.
So what were the questions you wanted to ask
I
me?
was literally about to say, can I ask you a question?
For sure, man.
Well, look, I mean, the thing I find fascinating, first of all, man, I'm just so grateful to be having a chat. Like, I really do value the opportunity to just, you know, have a chat and be around you. I feel, just very grateful, which is cool. It's nice to feel nice things, you know?
Yeah, dude, you definitely deserve it.
Yeah, thanks, man. I guess the main things that come to mind is that you have an incredibly unique perspective, because from where you're standing, the interactions you've had and the perspective you have, seeing so many people who are wanting to achieve in Webflow, I think is just, you know, you might be one of the only people, other than maybe the people in Webflow themselves, but even people in Webflow, it's not quite the same as paying for a program or paying for a course because I want to succeed in Webflow, and being like very in touch with that audience and seeing on the pointy end, let's say, you're on the pointy end of what's working and what's not working for the Webflow community in a sense, right? So I guess the main areas of curiosity that I find around picking your brain is more around like the distinguishing or the distinctions between the things you're seeing that quote unquote work, which I guess depends on people's definition of success, but the things that you notice, the patterns you see, and seems to be the difference with people that are doing well, and this is the difference with people that kind of it tapers off and doesn't work out. Like, because I know there's things I'm not seeing because I don't have that perspective, right? I could be shooting myself in the foot every day and I don't know.
No, I think it's. I think there are a lot of very different definitions of success and a lot of different goals that people set for themselves. So, in the category of building a business and an agency, first of all, and again, let me explain my perspective because it's not the whole perspective. My interaction with and our students are mainly people who want to work as either freelancers, web designers, or Webflow developers. That's mainly the people that I interact with. There are a lot of other people who want to, you know, join a team, or people who work in enterprise, or all kinds of different. But that's mainly the people who want to either they're designers and they want to add up a new capability, or people who want to make a career transition into web design or web development and stuff like that. So that's, first of all, that's the context to my perspective. Now, in that, there's few different kind of like outcomes or goals that people want to see. Some people, and I think you're one of them, want to build a business, build an agency, scale, do big things. And I think within them, you're quite high at the top in terms of success. You're doing all of the right things, and all of the things that you talked about in terms of hiring, documenting your business, thinking about it as a machine, you know, pulling yourself out slowly out of like the day-to-day operations. You're doing the playbook. I don't know if you've read The E-Myth. Did you read like the book The E-Myth? It's kind of like, it's a business classic. Yeah, it's a business classic about how to run a business, and a business operator that wants to kind of like pull himself out of the business and document the processes and build a team. That being said, that's just one kind of like possible goal. There are other people who enjoy doing the work and want to keep doing the work, and they just, you know, they call themselves freelancers or consultants or designers or whatnot. They just want to do that. They don't want to grow it. You know, some people get to whatever, 30K a year, 50K a year, and they're like, fantastic, I can support my family, I can live the lifestyle that I want, I'm happy. Some people get to 6-figure and they're like, that's amazing, I don't need more. And I don't necessarily want to hire people, or, you know, now there's also the trend of design subscriptions. I don't know if you've seen this around. It's like all of the Brett and Design Joy. And that's a lot of people who are, it doesn't matter that it's, you know, a different name for a retainer, but it's kind of like Brett specifically is kind of like a signifier of a person saying, I want to, doesn't matter, I make a lot of money, but I want to stay small. I don't want a business. I don't want to manage other people. I like doing the work and I want to keep doing the work. And maybe it's unsustainable and whatever. So I'm going to save up money and later I'll figure out later. So there are different kind of like goals and outcomes. And I think on your path, and now we can talk about your path and kind of like what is success to you and like what is enough, where do you want to go, which is really an interesting conversation because I think on that path you're doing all of the right things.
Well, I had another question for you, if I'm allowed.
Okay.
If I can, is that okay?
Of course, dude.
There's a couple. Yeah, I genuinely feel this like real excitement to ask you stuff. It's just trying to make sure that I word things right to get the best juice out of the,
And it's a conversation. You can rephrase and ask follow-up questions, dude.
Sure. Okay. So one thing, I guess because I'm in the space now of like hiring people and working with people, I'm curious. You don't have a shortage of people, right? That would probably be willing to put their hand up and say, I'll work in Rand's team. What kind of people really get you turned on and excited about like, I would love to work with someone like this? Like, what lights you up when someone wants to work with you? And do you have any ideas of what specifics, other than being on time, are there specific things which light you up about that?
Yeah, so let me share. First of all, we just hired a designer. So that's, we put an email to our mailing list. Hey, we're hiring a designer. Next day, I have to review 550 portfolios. I'll give you a few interesting notes about that. So the way that I hire right now, or at least what I did is I've asked for portfolio, which is obviously to see the quality of the work. But I also asked for a Loom video of like 1 minute Loom video, just introduce yourself. And we talked about this earlier. You can immediately tell. It doesn't take a minute. It takes 10, 20 seconds of seeing a person talk to understand their vibe, if they're excited, if they're articulate, what are they like? And it's very, very important because somebody might be, especially if you're working remotely and stuff like that, maybe they have a good portfolio. But so step number one is to kind of like have this high quality of work and then look like good vibe personality and so the next step is we have a paid assignment. So for people who we think are interesting, we're doing a paid assignment, something small like $200, do this. And we send them an assignment that's already in our kind of like project management system and would feel very similar to the way in which we're working in terms of that we can comment and they need to check when it's done and stuff like that. And the way I do it is I'm saying, hey, here's the assignment. This is the price. This is what we want you to do. Would you be able to deliver this by next Wednesday or something, right? You set a deadline and then maybe they say, oh, I'm busy. That Wednesday doesn't work. Whatever. You get an agreement on a deadline and then you get them to do something. And here's an example, because in this case, I had like few people doing this assignment. And I could say that from looking at their portfolio, seeing their, Loom video, and then also having like a quick Zoom conversation with them, I was very excited about two of them, which I thought were the best fit. And then I gave them these two the assignments. One of them delivered the assignment one day before, and he also sent two variations on something that we've asked for, a design for something. He asked for two different ideas. The other person delivered on time and did exactly what we've asked. So, if we only had a single person, that person would probably work, right? I mean, he did what we asked, he did it on. But the other person has proved that has already over-delivered in terms of we agreed on something and he did more than that on day one. So that kind of tells you something about how this person works and kind of gets me excited about. And by the way, we started working with this person and that was a very good signal. He kept kind of like over-delivering and doing things really, really well. So that gets me excited.
Not doing the bare minimum. Like that's kind of one thing. They're not just
No. It's of course doing what is expected of you is great. But when it's compared with somebody who is over delivering, then it's that gets you really excited. I mean, as you said, that's the bare minimum. It's good enough. I mean, you don't have to, but it's very, very helpful to over deliver, you know?
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Interesting.
What else? Shoot.
So what are you I gotta think of a better way to ask it though. So I was curious about who you were excited to work with in terms of, people joining a team. I find that fascinating because again, you have such choice. So knowing what you would find, interesting is fascinating to hear. The other thing,
but you know what? I want to cut you off and I want to say something else. I think that you are one of my best bets for this year. Honestly, I'm very excited about our partnership. Really.
Oh man, that's amazing. I literally feel like blushing.
Yeah, no, really. I'm telling you this because, when I first reached out to you again after just seeing the Loom video. So it wasn't a lot. Now I've worked with multiple creators in the past and I got to the position where I'm like, I want to see videos that they did before I'm starting to work with people because, otherwise it's very difficult to know and maybe they're not good communicators. And with you, I just had this gut feeling based on that single Loom video, which wasn't even a YouTube video or anything like that. And, I was just like, let's talk. And then just like talking to you got me really excited. And then immediately, we started talking about the next project before the first project was even completed.
Yeah,
right.
Totally.
So to me, it was just like, okay, I got a very strong gut feeling and I'm deciding to double down on this.
What do you feel like? Obviously your mind is reaching into some future idea. What do you feel like the thing is behind that? Like when you say my gut, it's like,
I'll tell you something now. It's like, I know you're going to take this the right way, but I realize now that my job, and I think it's true for you as well, my job as a owner of this company, I have only two things I need to do. One, recognized undervalued talent. Okay. That's number one thing. And number two, hold the quality bar. Those are the only two things I need to do if I'm building a business. Otherwise, if you're working with non-talented people, that's a problem. If the people that you work with are talented, but they understand how talented they are, and they're going to charge you in accordance, that might not be profitable. So I feel like I really recognized you as an undervalued talent, in which point, like, I'm just imagining, by the point, like next year or 2 years from now, you're going to say to yourself, oh my God, I can't believe, that's how much I charge Ron or something like that. But I do hope that I'll be able to provide you with value, with our collaboration, by helping you build your brand and bringing traffic to your agency. And I'll deliver value in other ways to you. So that partnership is going to be valuable on your end. I see you as a huge kind of like undervalued. I feel like I discovered kind of like a rough diamond. And
I'll take that.
I'm going to polish that diamond. And yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's how I feel. Okay.
That's amazing, mate. I will take that. That's incredible. I'm blown away to hear that. And as you were saying, what's really interesting is it feels like this, like one-to-one for what I feel like I'm experiencing with my team. I was literally having this conversation today. We in the community, there's a lot of don't undervalue yourself and charge what you're worth. And I'm trying to say this in a way that's obviously balanced. But I kind of want to say to some people, I'm trying to think of a good way to say this. I'll just say
be blunt.
I'll say it how it's kind of on my mind. I feel like saying to some people, you should undervalue yourself. I said, completely debase your value in a way. Like, obviously not completely, but there's some people that are coming to me that are wanting to get paid more than I pay myself in the business. The people I think I said this to my team today, I'm looking for people that are willing to start at the bottom, like you said, that are they don't understand the value that they're bringing. I'm seeing some of the guys that have come to me. I'm like, man, like the potential that you have, and your current employer is not seeing that. Like if you're in my team, like.
But I want to say something. I want to say something on that topic.
Please.
The value is created also in the partnership, meaning you can be very, very, very talented. For example, you can be very, very talented, but with zero reach, or you can't do anything on your own, or if you do something great on your own, not enough people are going to get attention to it. And you can say to yourself, oh, but I'm so talented, I should be charging this and this and that. Okay, great. Keep doing that and you get nowhere. I can tell you, look, I'm going to pay you half of what you want, but I'm going to get you seen and noticed, and that's going to be a great stepping stone for you, and I'm going to get you exposure, and that's going to build your value in the future. Now, as I'm saying this, I kind of like hear the cynical voice in me say, well, a lot of clients say to designer, hey, work for free, and yeah, this is going to be in your portfolio, and it's yeah.
We've got 3 other websites we need to do. Yeah.
And so I see the cynicism in this, but also I've done a bunch of free stuff when I got started as well, and it did open doors for me. So it's important not to be too cynical. Yeah, there are red flags for clients, but you also need to understand your situation right now and what is going to be valuable for you.
Since we've been talking about this, like I've been really thinking about, and because I've been interviewing and new team members, I've been radically transparent with my team members about this is how much money we're making. This is how much, for me, the way it's maybe arbitrary a little bit, but when I work with people, I like the idea that I know whatever I'm bringing to the table, they're making at least 5 times ROI, return on their investment, from what I'm contributing. Because then I know whatever they're paying me, there's no questions about it. They're happy to pay me. I'll feel good about it. They feel good about it. What some people don't understand is if someone comes to me and say, like, let's say you want to get paid $2,000 a month, $4,000 a month, $4,000 a month. Let's say I want $4,000 US a month. For me to pay someone $4,000 US a month, first of all, I've got to change that to Aussie dollars. So we're talking about $6,500 at the moment, brutal exchange rate. In order for me to get $6,500 in the door, I might have to spend $500 to $1,000 potentially in marketing. I might have to spend another $500 to $1,000 in project management, in tax. I've got to pay tax. So by the time I pay someone that $6,500, we're talking more like $10,000 to $12,000 a month that I have to make sure is coming in the business just so they're covered. Then you've got the rest of the business. Then I have to get paid. What about the food on my table? So I think potentially some people just don't understand the economics and just the logistics of, a business, and a huge thing, all the things that someone doesn't have to do when you just do this one thing. That's a topic that I feel a lot about, which is why with my team, I'm like, dude, track your time on everything so that like this is, for example, if you're a freelancer, there's a bit of a rabbit hole, but if you're a freelancer, it might take you a month posting stuff on Upwork, doing things here, doing things there, phone calls, sales, and you do one $5,000 website, like, wow, $5,000, all for me. But if you tracked your time on everything you've done before that $5,000 it's not a $5,000 website. You may as well work at McDonald's a lot of the time. Like I've worked building Flow Gurus, I've worked under the minimum wage. Like McDonald's workers have been paid more than me for probably not the majority of Flow Gurus, but there's been periods in the Flow Gurus 3 years that I've been paid less than a McDonald's worker. Right?
You don't have to tell me. You don't have to tell me. I did YouTube videos every day for like 3, 4, 5 years, not getting paid at all, shooting, editing, doing all of that kind of stuff. And then, launching a course and making a bunch of money, and people are like, oh, how easy it is to make money online, and it's passive income. I'm like, dude, there is nothing passive about this. This is so much work. And if you take that time and work it for all of the stuff I did not getting paid, yeah, you will get to. But one more thing that I wanted to say about that. So for example, when I had one of my first jobs in an agency and I was getting like ridiculously low pay, not only did he recognize the undervalued talent, but he put that undervalued talent to work on huge, big, complicated projects that I would never get to work on my own. So the combination of taking that talent and putting it somewhere where it does not have access to get on his own is also important, and is also part of the value exchange that I was getting. So I was saying, I'm getting ridiculously low amount of money. Right. But I got to work with these dude, I was part of the branding of the state of Israel. If you come visit us in Israel, you will land in the airport and you will see a weird shaped logo, and I worked on that. So that's crazy. And I was like fresh out of school. What a crazy project, like to brand your own country. Like I would never have access to work on that. And they were getting like shitloads of money and I was getting peanuts. So I've got no reservations about that. I mean, that's fair. So that's part of the exchange as well.
Me and my mate, Luke, we talk about business all the time. And one of these things we've both seen a lot, and it's been really fascinating to see with people we've worked with. You touched on it a bit, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Okay, here's a good example. When I worked with the SEO company, I didn't care if we had an agreement, right? That I was getting a certain percentage of the profit of the website department, right? That was our agreement. I wasn't even an employee. That was, right? That's it, black and white for me. Not a dollar more, not a dollar less. If they made millions of dollars, actually, I've got a story. I don't think I can share that one yet, but if they make millions of dollars from what I did directly, and I just get this little part over here, I feel I'm 100% happy. There's no part of me that's like, oh, well, I did this. Zero. However, I've been in situations with people where there is this, I don't like to use just entitlement, but like there's a sense of they deserve something from you, do you have any thoughts on that? Like what that is?
Look, everybody's because everybody's on Twitter. Everybody has read the tweet storm by Naval or other people like, you never price your time. You need to build equity, and here's how to make tons of money and be rich and stuff like that. Now everybody has access to this information. So now everybody tries to think of, hey, I want to be rich. I want to make lots of money. I'm going to do what these rich, smart people told me to do. And so that's it. I need to get, equity and cut of the business. And I'm not going to sell my time. I'm not going to, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I feel like you've got a beef around this thing, dude.
Look, when I started my company, I was I actually thought I was kind of like also in this kind of like tech. I was very inspired. I don't know if you know ConvertKit, Nathan Barry, and I was like very, very impressed with how he's building his company and doing rev share with the employees I was like, I want to do this, and started promising everybody, you're going to get rev share and you're going to get this and you're going to get that. And we're paying you Silicon Valley salaries, no matter where you are in the world. Why? Because when I started on my own and had kind of like big leverage, I made a lot of money. And so most of it was profit, right? I only take what I need to live. So there's a lot of profit. So I was like, and also have this money issues where I feel guilt about making money. So it's not fair. I'm getting all the money. So everybody that's working with me need to get part of that money as well, blah, blah, blah. So that kind of led me into that path, which led me into stop being profitable and then start losing my own money, not investors' money, not anybody else's money, losing my money. I don't want to say entitlement because I think it's my bad for setting up the expectations in a way that you deserve this. You deserve this. That has become that plus me making normal business mistakes, and then, the market, turnaround, recession, whatever you want to call this, has led to me needing to fix things and make changes in the team, make changes in our compensation, and now have better people doing more, being better team members, making less money. And honestly, I think they're happier.
It's an interesting one, man. I just had a thought as well that came up as you were sharing around the one thing that I've found has kind of just clears things up for me personally. Again, I haven't done it yet. We do have a bit of a revenue. It's a very small revenue share model that we're about to start working with. But the difference with what I'm doing is that for me, it's like a happiness metric. For me, I know looking at our numbers, I know what we need for things to work and for the wheels to keep turning. This is what I'm happy to pay, right? This is what I'm happy to pay. As soon as like I start to think about fairness or like that kind of blurry word, that's where things start getting a little bit like, because everyone has this subjective idea of like, well, I did this. So just agreeing like, this is what I'm happy to pay you, whether it's revenue or whether it's just an amount. Are you happy to be paid that? Yes. If it's yes, then that's it. We shake hands. And if I make millions and you get paid $10 an hour, there's no, like, we're clear. There's no, there's nothing in the middle, if that makes sense. But
yeah, I think money psychology is weird, and it's different for different people. And it's, people might think that they're happy now. They might develop resentment later. Maybe they're not happy now, but in hindsight, it was actually pretty good. You never know. But yeah, for me, because I know my biases, which are, again, it needs to be fair. It needs to be all of these kind of things. It's very important and helpful for me to have a business coach who has a very different perspective than me and kind of slaps me in the face all the time. And also Noah, my wife, who's managing the finances and, does payment and P&L and all of that. She's like, where is the money? Where is the money? Show me the money.
That's so funny. I was just thinking that just before you said it, I was like, I wonder if he has someone to rely on. Because I know for me, I've joined a community and I've been paying for a mentorship as well. And I've found just having someone each week that's like, did you do the thing that you said you were going to do? Or like, they can see when I'm like, oh, shiny object. And they're like, whoosh, like, Kaleb,
yeah, very important.
Do the thing. Stay in a straight line.
So what are the most helpful community courses, mentoring stuff that you've done? What has proved helpful?
Look, I've been in a few, to be completely frank, and ironically, it has half of our business name in it. I'm in a program called U Gurus and
right.
U Academy, and the guy
U.
So just the letter U.
The letter U. Okay.
Yeah, U Gurus. The owner, Brent, has just been super lovely to me, and he's been doing this for quite some time.
Is it agency specific or?
Yeah, so it's for agencies, for designers, mainly like, to be able to have your own agency, etc. And it's not so much that the course content, because I've done a lot of courses and stuff over the years, and the main thing that I've really got out of it is one, having a bit of a structure, that's because there's so many things to do in a business. It's like, there's some kind of step that I can tick off, and like I've done that step, I can move to the next step. But the other two things is just having those people around you that are really going at it as well, where you can share ideas and like, oh, dude, I launched this email marketing thing. I did that too, and I found that this worked. But the other thing, the third thing, is just been having one mentor that every week is checking in and is like making sure that you're doing the things. Like, I don't know how to explain this, or if you have a similar thing, but it's like an internal clock. I can sometimes go like a week and it's just a blur. Like, what have I done? What have I not done? But when you have that objective third party that like comes in a week and just helps you see, oh yeah, like, what have you done this week? And it just kind of realigns my compass, I suppose. Yeah.
So I work with a business coach. We're working together since 2018. So I guess it's 5 years now. And the first thing he did is he put me on daily documentation. which means at the end of every day, I spend 10 minutes. I write what I did, what I struggled with. And then at the end of the week, I summarize. Now, initially, he did that so that when I come to our meetings, we have something to review together. But then very quickly, we stopped looking at it altogether. But I kept doing it. And I'm still doing it. I just reviewed, like now I'm at week 300. So documenting every day, and it's so helpful for me. That actually leads me into not really needing the accountability because I have it all documented, but he kind of does help me to see what I'm not seeing. So kind of like getting that outside perspective. And very funnily enough, just like a few weeks ago, I think like 2 weeks ago or something like that, 3 weeks ago, he actually also started telling me, how about you also document your mood at the end of the day? And then you can start seeing patterns, like when do you feel good, when do you feel bad, and what causes that, and maybe see relationship. But the funny thing is that since he told me to do it every day at the end of the day, I kind of ask myself, well, how do you feel today? How was today? I'm like, yeah, pretty good. I'm happy. And so now every day is like happy, 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 happy. And I wonder whether I'm really happy right now and I'm on a good streak, or the fact that I'm reflecting about it puts me in a positive mood and kind of like forces me into a positive mood because maybe I don't know. So I'm not sure why, but like all of my streaks right now for the last 2-3 weeks were like, I'm happy.
I'm happy every day.
So
do you
good.
do it on
a
scale? Like, do you do it out of 10 or something? Or how do you measure?
So I have my, it's kind of like I have an emoji for, exactly. I have an emoji for the day. So there's a smiley face emoji, which is basically, so I only have.
Oh, that's cheating, dude. You've got emojis. It's hard to look at emoji and not feel happy.
No, I have all the emojis. So the only day in the last like 2-3 streaks, which wasn't, so I wasn't sure how I felt that day because I just felt like my brain was melting just because I had back-to-back calls, which is like the worst thing for me. And I was just like overwhelmed. So I wasn't sure. It's like, it's not that I'm sad. It's not that I'm stressed. So I found an emoji that has, I don't think it's the classic emoji pack. It's like that has kind of like this screw, like this thing for pressure that's pressuring your brain kind of like. So that was the only emoji that I like brain being squeezed is the only other emoji besides happy that I've used so far.
That's a crack up. And so at the end of the month, you've got like, okay, this month we had 3 brain squeeze emojis, 22 smiley emojis.
So far, it's good. So far, I think I'm on a good streak.
Interesting, man. Well, I had the last question that I was going to ask about what is kind of really exciting you about what you're currently doing. But if we have limited time, I was going to ask you one thing that I'm not prioritizing at the moment, but I know I need to prioritize very soon is like personal joy in terms of like getting fresh air, spending time with people that you care about. Obviously, we don't want to just be doing stuff every day. Like it's one of the biggest regrets people have is like, I didn't spend time with people I cared about or whatever. What do you do? That's a funny question. It sounds really basic, but for me, it's like a big question. What do you do for fun? Like, what do you do for good feelings? It's probably a better umbrella.
Yes. First, fortunately, again, I don't know if to attribute this to my business coach or just I've figured out kind of like I've optimized my life around those things. So for me, for example, the things that really make me feel good is riding my bicycle and either listening to music or audiobooks or podcasts. So like me going to work, I've got like 20-minute ride from home to the office. Going to work and back is a lot of times peak moments in my day just because I enjoy it. And then I also like reading books. So most of my lunch times I'm eating alone. Sometimes I would eat with friends, which is also kind of like, I'm not a night person. I'm very tired at night. So most nights I don't go out. So my social time is sometimes around lunch. So I either eat lunch with a friend, which is fun, or I'm eating by myself and I'm reading a book, which is also great for me. I love going to a restaurant alone, eating food that I like, that I love, and reading a book. So that's another thing. So I sprinkle like fun stuff, fun moments in my day that I look forward to. So I look forward to going to work. I look forward to my lunch break. And then I have my, my 3-4 o'clock coffee. And there's kind of like, there's a rooftop
3 or
here,
4
which
o'clock PM.
PM. Yeah. I did like,
Do you sleep?
no, I eat lunch. Then I go back to work. Say I eat lunch at 12 and then go back to work. And then I'll do a coffee break around 3 or 4 afternoon.
I wouldn't sleep all night if I had a coffee at 3 or 4 o'clock.
Really? No. So I do 2 coffees. 1 coffee when I get to the office, the second coffee 3 or 4. And I do this, there's a roof, which is kind of like a park in a way. So I just go there to sit in the sun for like 15 minutes with my coffee. Right now, by the way, it's super hot in Israel. But I like it. I like being in the sun. I like, being on the grass, drinking my coffee there, chilling. So I kind of sprinkle these fun things in my day.
I mean, that sounds beautiful to me. Do you have things that are like personal goals that are like, that's kind of like the day-to-day things? Are there things like, I want to move to here, or I want to go skydiving or whatever, like I want to go on this trip? Are there things that drive you?
There have been, first of all, I've been 40 this year. So I'm in my middle of my midlife crisis right now. Yeah. But
I think you mentioned that last time. That's crazy, dude.
So first of all, up until we bought a house last year, up until buying a house, that was kind of like a very big milestone that I was working towards. Like, oh, I need to make money so we can buy a house. We live in Tel Aviv, probably one of the top expensive cities in the world. And we have a really nice house. So that was a big thing. Now that I got that off my chest, I'm like, there's no specific kind of like goals for me. No big things. They're kind of like, I have a list that I wrote this year of things I want to start doing. I wrote there, I want to start climbing, which I did a little bit, like rock climbing or wall climbing. Learned to sail a boat, because I was on a boat trip with a friend who knows how to sail last year, and that was so cool. I was like, hey, I want to learn how to sail a boat myself. So those are kind of like random. I also learned piano, which is started doing during COVID, and I get very I'm like, oh, I need to practice 30 minutes a day, and like there's no reason for that, but it actually adds stress to my life, because I'm like, I feel bad when I'm not playing. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so horrible. And then TikTok shows me like 5-year-old piano who are kicking my ass. Like 5-year-old kid. I'm like, oh my God, I'll never be that good.
I love how you grab this, like, I want a passion hobby so I can relax. And the next minute you're stressing out every day trying to learn piano.
Exactly. All right, dude, we got to wrap up. It was an awesome call. Fantastic call. Yeah. Thanks for doing it with me. Looking forward for the next one. Yeah, we should do it.
Yeah, I feel like we went down quite a few different rabbit holes, but hopefully.
Yeah, I've got a bunch more on my list here, which we didn't get to. Yeah, like what success is for you. You being worried about AI. I've got a bunch of stuff to talk about. So we might want to do another one.
Man, I love chatting with you. Like, I just want to it's almost like it's not enough. Like, I just want to
I'm still not at I don't know if you listen to like these 3-hour podcasts, like Lex Fridman, Tim Ferriss, kind of like, or Joe Rogan, kind of like long conversations. Yeah, I'm not at that level yet, but we'll do part 2 for sure.
Yeah. Maybe it'll have to be in person. Maybe that's the thing.
Okay. Are you coming to Israel, or I have to come to Australia?
Oh, I was thinking about that. That'd be more fun.
Hey, by the way, in October, we'll be in London for Webflow conference. Think about that. I'm doing a workshop there, and our whole team is coming. So check this out. It's October 18th. And if you want to come, let me know.
I will let you know.
Okay.
I will let you know. I appreciate it, man. Well, I guess I don't need to give you an update on the video stuff, but it's mainly this weekend. I'm putting in 2 days, man. I'm just so pumped about it. And the team as well. The guys, I've told them, I said, man, Rand said it would be cool for you guys to do the course. They're like, that's awesome.
Cheers, man. It was awesome to chat.